Hello there, and welcome once again to the Mayor's Magazine. I'm Mick Cornett, the mayor of Oklahoma City and the host of the Mayor's Magazine, and this is our show for April 2015. Well, if it's April in Oklahoma City, you know the Arts Festival is coming along, and today we're going to talk about the Arts Festival with the two co-chairs, Louis Price and Betsy Brunsteter. Welcome to the Mayor's Magazine.
Thanks, Mick.
This is exciting.
Thank you very much.
Now we're taping this show right as April begins, but let's get the details out of the way first. Betsy, when does the Arts Festival start?
Starts on April 21st. That's a Tuesday.
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah. And it
ends?
goes until Sunday, the 26th.
Okay. So if people have family and friends, you know, they may live out of town, they want to invite them in on a weekend, that's the good weekend to bring them in here. And also the marathon is around that time too.
It's on the 26th in the morning.
Okay.
And everyone can do the marathon and be at the Arts Festival as well.
Well, this has grown to epic proportions. Louis, I gotta think that this is one of those assignments when you're asked to do it, you take a big gulp, because there's been some great predecessors and some great arts festivals, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of work.
Well, it is, but it's been a real pleasure to work on the festival. I know a couple of years ago we were asked to chair this year's event. It's about a 2-year project. And yeah, there's a big gulp there, and you think about it for a while, and then really pleased to have the opportunity to spend our time giving something back to the city and participating in such an outstanding cultural event. It's been a lot of fun.
Give us an example of kind of the makeup of the volunteer structure.
Well, the volunteer base of the festival consists of about 400 committee chairmen and day chairs. And each of those committees, there's about 40 or 45 of them, recruit volunteers to work at the festival all week long. Our festival's completely volunteer-driven day to day. We have a fantastic staff at the Arts Council, 14 people who put the festival together. But day to day, the volunteers work at the tents and participate in various activities. And there are about 5,000 volunteers, all members of our community, all love Oklahoma City and love the arts. And so we spend the better part of 2 years recruiting the committee chairs, and then in turn they spend this last few months bringing together a group of 5,000 people to make the festival happen.
Mm-hmm. Betsy, talk about the art that comes in. How is it determined which artists will get to show up?
We have about 144 artists, and those artists are juried by professional artists that we bring in from, generally a couple from out of state and some from local. And they go through, we get about 500 applications, and we have to cull those down to about 144. And there is, as far as the 144 artists, we have sculpture, we have paintings, we have all types of even clothing and jewelry, and it's a wonderful selection, a lot of different price points.
And do some people come back year after year, or how many new artists do you try to get in there?
Well, we have a structure, and I'm not going to go into that right now, but we have many that come back year after year, and then we have a lot of new artists. We have 2 artists from out of the country this year.
Wow, that's an assignment. And a lot of people, when they think of the Arts Festival, the art's kind of a sideshow because they go for the food. So Louis, how are the vendors selected that supply the food?
Well, the process is very similar. It's a juried process. Back in October.
Did you have to taste all this food? Is that what you're telling me?
It was really the kind of toughest part of this whole job, was to spend 3 days sampling all the food from all the applicants. And so then you spend the next 6 months in the gym getting ready for the week of the festival. But that we had a large number of applicants, and there's a juried process where the food vendors are selected. We have 21 vendors who occupy the International Food Court, and then a number of other smaller booths around that are selling ice cream and desserts and smoothies and various things like that. But we have some new vendors this year, some new food vendors. We have Kaiser's. Everybody knows Kaiser's ice cream. They'll be one of the vendors at the festival, and a new Cajun food vendor. So we try to provide a real variety of international and ethnic food, people like that. We always have the most popular Indian tacos and the Strawberries Newport that everybody enjoys.
And I think people are also impressed at how the outreach for children to be a part of it. Because for a lot of kids, this might be their first experience, with art at this scale. They might have colored, at home on a piece of paper, but to actually have something that's coordinated and be exposed to arts of grander stages, this might be the first time. So you all take that very seriously.
Oh, absolutely. We have a lot of venues for children. We have the Young at Art Mart where the children are exclusively admitted and their parents have to wait outside and they select art. We also have a youth art sale where young artists, it's on Saturday, and young artists will display and sell their works. We also have face painting, a standard, and we have balloons and flowers, and we also have a stage that's exclusively for children's performances. So dancing, singing, what have you.
Yeah, the face painting is relatively new. It must be this generation's thing, because when I go to a Thunder game, I'm amazed at how long the line is of kids that want to have their face painted some particular color or particular design. It's like the most popular thing that there is to do. Louis, talk about the music, because I know music is a certain part of the Arts Festival too.
Well, we have 3 stages for performing arts. As Betsy mentioned, we've got a stage that's exclusively for young people's performing arts, and we have a cafe stage and a water stage, and those stages are active from 11 in the morning until the festival closes in the evening. We have about 200 musical performances. They run about an hour in length, so it's a great break. You can either be there for the music and sit all day and listen to music, or you can wander from art to music and back again. A lot of local groups that are popular, people sort of know and come out for groups like the Wise Guys and Loose Change and lots of different kinds of performing arts. I think we even have a hypnotist this year at one of the stages, so you might want to be careful about that.
And people that are listening and maybe have never been might be surprised at the cost of admission. Louis, how much does it cost to get in?
It's free.
Sounds too good to be true.
It sounds too good to be true, yeah. But it is. It's free. In fact, we were out of town a couple of weeks ago at a festival out in Arizona where it cost $10 just to walk in the door, and I looked around and I thought, well, that's certainly reflected in the number of people that are here. But in our festival, it's free, and as a result of that, we have about 750,000 people that attend the festival during the course of the 6-day run.
That's an amazing run, and what I see is a lot of people that work downtown, they'll spend their lunch hour over at the Arts Festival, just because they got to eat somewhere. And
absolutely. It's
hard to beat the food over at the Arts Festival. What can people watching the show, what can they do, Louis? What's your call to action?
Yeah, our call to action is, you heard that I said we have 5,000 volunteers. We can always use volunteers. The Arts Council is a wonderful organization. It provides a great variety of art venues and opportunities to the community, and that only happens through the success of the Arts Festival, which is the primary fundraiser for the Arts Council. So if anyone would like to volunteer, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can call the Arts Council, and their number is 270-4848, and you can get online, artscouncilokc.com, and if you can click your way through a couple of tabs that will get you to volunteer at the festival, and all the committees are listed there, and you can actually just sign up to volunteer at the festival that way.
And Betsy, I hope you're planning on taking some time off when this is done.
Well, I have a new grandbaby.
Oh, you do?
So I am planning to spend a little time with him.
Well, but not until April 26th.
Not until April 26th.
Your hands are tied. All right, it starts April
21st
and runs until April 26th. Begins on a Tuesday, ends on a Sunday. Which one of you is in charge of the weather?
We're both in charge of the weather,
okay.
And it's going to be terrific.
Terrific weather is ensured.
I'm taking Tuesday through Friday. Betsy will take the weekend.
Betsy, Lewis, thank you so much for your commitment to making this so successful. And I know that people in Oklahoma City enjoy going to the Arts Festival every year. This year is going to be no exception. Let's see if we can't get out and break some attendance records. We'll have more on the Mayor's Magazine right after this.
I enrich our cultural landscape.
I help define our quality of life.
I am one of 4,000 artists in central Oklahoma who receive
support from Allied Arts, this community's united arts organization.
I am an Allied artist.
One of our favorite things to do on the Mayor's Magazine is to talk to local authors about their books. And one of our most frequent visitors is Lou Berney. And Lou is a new book and has been kind enough to come by and talk to us about it. But it's called The Long and Faraway Gone. And I'll hold up the book so you can recognize it when you see it in your local bookstore. But it is set in Oklahoma City. And Lou, for that, we appreciate the expertise that you put behind it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to write a novel set here. It's the first novel I've written that's set in my hometown, so that was a different kind of experience for me.
Yeah, we'll talk about, when there's a lot of formulas to writing books, but when you're talking about the setting and making sure that the reader understands the setting of the story, how do you go about setting up the story? Just in general, not just this one, but any time.
Well, I think it's about capturing details of a place that make the place come alive. And for me, that's sort of the small things, the smells, like, for example, the State Fair of Oklahoma. I think there are certain smells that bring it to life, bring it to life for people. And so I wanted to capture that. And I've got a national readership, a lot of whom who've never been to Oklahoma City. So it felt important to me to really capture the city, in all its various, all the various facets of the city.
Well, did you discover something about the city or yourself as you were trying to describe the city? Because, when you live in a place, you might not prospectively think about, what the city was like back then. And there's a certain time period for this novel. But did you discover anything about the city when you tried to look at it from an objective point of view?
Well, I grew up in Oklahoma City, then moved away for many years, and then moved back. So when I go anywhere in the city, I'm seeing it in almost two parallel universes. I see it the way it was when I left and see how it is now. And it's such a dramatic difference in so many ways, in so many places. For me, that was a really interesting way to approach it. So I had the character do the same thing.
Is this a mystery? What happens in this
It's
story?
a mystery. It's about two characters who were both affected by very terrible crimes in the mid-1980s that were never solved. And now as adults, they feel compelled to solve the crimes so they can kind of move on with their lives.
And so they're like amateur detectives, or to a certain extent?
One's a professional private investigator and one's just a nurse, and they don't know each other when the book starts. And both crimes are kind of inspired by things that when I was a kid affected me deeply. The Steakhouse Massacre in 1978, I was 13 years old, and I was working at a Brahms on Hefner that's gone now. And I remember when that happened, we had a walk-in freezer too. And so every time I stepped into our walk-in freezer, I thought about those kids, those teenagers who had stepped into their walk-in freezer and been murdered. And so that stayed with me for years and years and kind of bubbled up when I was writing this book.
Mm-hmm. And the other real-life event that's brought into life here?
The other event was two girls disappeared from the State Fair of Oklahoma in 1981, and as coincidence would have it, I was working at a movie theater, the French Market Twin Theater, the old French Market Twin, and the mother of one of the girls worked at that theater too, checking numbers for the studios. And I remember looking across the lobby at her and just trying to imagine the grief she must be going through that her daughter had gone missing. And again, that stayed with me for so many years and kind of informed my writing of this book.
And when you're starting to lay out a novel, do you just start because you know how it begins, or do you have to know how it ends, and do you have to kind of build yourself a roadmap or a blueprint to get to where you want to be?
For me, I have to think I know how it ends, but it always changes. But
really?
I have to have a sense. Like I did tons of outlines for this book. I thought I knew who did it, but that changed over the course of the book. A lot of things changed, but I can't start out without some kind of map.
Interesting. And that must have been a revelation when you discovered that your story ended differently than you thought.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things change, and that's the best part of being a writer is when your characters surprise you and start doing things that you didn't imagine they could ever do. Mm-hmm. And that's when it's the most fun to write, I think.
In my kind of television career and then video production career, you put together stories. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And sometimes, from a storytelling standpoint, everything just falls right into place. It was like, boy, it just meshes together. And then other times, you're just trying to force different things in here, and it's just not working. Do you find yourself going through certain elements of that, or because I'm sure you have certain elements you want to bring together, but how do you bring one element in and bring it where it makes sense to be connected to another?
Yeah, sometimes it's really wonderful, the writing process. It all clicks, it all flows. And then a lot of times it's just nightmarish and nothing clicks, nothing flows, and the only way to get through it is to keep writing. And that's nightmarish in and of itself. Like the only way to get better is to be sicker. And that's just part of the job, though. It's part of the creative process.
Are you a person that likes to write early in the morning or late at night, or does it matter?
I write all day usually. I usually write from about 8:30 to 6:30 with a break for lunch, and I don't really write late at night anymore. I'm old now. I used to stay up later, but I don't know.
And how much material can you produce in a day? I mean, I don't know how it's measured by words or characters or pages, but how do you measure it?
I usually measure by words. I try to get like 1,500 to 2,000 words done a day. But if that's not going well, then I'll brainstorm or I'll do outlines or I'll do revisions. And if one process is not going well, I'll switch to something else.
So at the end of that day, is that pretty much a finished product, or do you plan to go back a day later or a week later and kind of review it and edit?
It depends. Sometimes it's perfect, and sometimes I think it's perfect, and sometimes I know it's not perfect.
Do you ever do something thinking it's really good and then go back later and think this isn't any good? Because that happened to me as a creative person all the time. I'd feel better if I wasn't the only one.
No, yeah, it's true. It's almost always different. Like the stuff I think is good turns out to be bad. The stuff I think is bad turns out to be better than I thought. That's why you need the perspective of time and distance sometimes with anything creative. Like you need to let it sit for a while.
Do you have anybody that you trust to read your work while it's still in progress?
Nope. No, I don't trust anybody in general, so I'm definitely not going to trust them with my creative writing. I have a great editor, and she's fantastic at HarperCollins and William Morrow, but she doesn't read it until a draft's done.
How many books now for Lou Berney?
This is my third novel, fourth book, and I just finished another one that'll be out, I think, about a year from now.
Oh, well, and can you give us a preview? What's that one about?
It's a continuation of the series I was writing before this one. It's sort of a more humorous series about a retired getaway driver who gets into all sorts of trouble.
Now, the kind of the traditional way to sell a book would be to get a big publisher like you have and have it distributed as widely as you could and hope people buy it. But now with social media and people are able to isolate their audience, do you write to a target audience? Is there a way to market and connect to your audience in a way that's a little bit more creative as opposed to just trying to see how many different people you can expose it to?
Yeah, that's a good point. I spend a lot of time on social media now where writers didn't used to do that. So with Twitter and Facebook and Goodreads and social media like that, there is a way to kind of connect with specific groups or people who are interested in what you're specifically writing. So it's much more targeted now, but it's also a lot more work for the writer. Like I don't have a degree in marketing, but I'm having to become a marketer as a writer nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And it's the printing process. Not everybody wants to pick up a hardcover book anymore. A lot of people like to use their electronic device. How do you deal with all that, and does that affect you as a writer?
It doesn't affect me as a writer. I think I sell about half and half now. I think that's the breakdown, half electronic and half sort of physical books. And to me, the more people buy it in any form, the better. And so as a reader, I read a ton of ebooks now because they're so easily accessed. So I think it's a good development for everybody.
And I imagine there's people all over the world that read one of your books and wanted to read another. That's typically the way it is with fiction, and you kind of develop a following. Do you see that interest level growing from people that have read previous books?
Yeah, it's really gratifying to get emails from someone who said, I really liked your first two books, but I love this one, or I love this one and went back and read your other two books. And you do kind of build an audience that way, sort of slowly but surely.
This book, as you said, is set in Oklahoma City. Are there certain neighborhoods that you kind of pulled and exposed here?
Yeah, I definitely. Again, I wanted to give a broad picture of Oklahoma City. So it's about the northwest side, it's about the south side, it's about the northeast side, it's about people with a lot of money, people without a lot of money. It's about the politics of the city. The Maps is in here. It's about the sports franchise. It's about OU football. Norman's in it. I try to give a kind of a cross section of a town I really love.
Lou Berney. Let me hold up the book one more time, Lou. This is what the book looks like. The Long and Faraway Gone, his fourth novel, and this one is set in Oklahoma City. I'm sure it's a good read for you yourself, but also a great gift for those that you care. And we're always trying to push people into reading more and more and more, especially when it's about Oklahoma City. So Lou, congratulations on your career, and this particular book I'm sure is going to be a success. And I hope when the book you just finished and it's coming out, I hope you'll come back on and tell us about your fifth novel.
I would love to. Thanks very much for having me.
All right, Lou Berney, today's guest on the Mayor's Magazine. We'll be back with another guest right after this.
Did you buy the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yup.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. In this segment, we're going to talk to a couple of young musical artists who call Oklahoma City home, Grant Colton and Matt Stansberry. Welcome to the Mayor's Magazine.
Happy to be here.
Now, I just learned just moments ago that you guys knew each other way back in high school. So talk about, you were at Heritage Hall.
Right.
You were at Santa Fe High School in Edmond, actually in Oklahoma City, but in the Edmond School District. And talk about that chance meeting that you all had many, many years ago.
I have to start because, truth be told, we were competing against each other in a battle of the bands. What high school was that? Was it Santa Fe?
How old were you at this point?
I had to have been 16, 17 maybe. And I had a group of guys from church, and Matt was in a really cool rock band, and I was in more of a pop kind of rock band. And I think after we both performed, I think you guys won the Battle of the Bands. He's like, yeah, I did, I won. We did not win.
Yeah.
And
we had the home court advantage.
That's true.
We were in the gym on the court playing.
That's true.
We went to school there.
You kind of knew some of the judges. Yeah.
And after that, I think some friends of ours said, well, you guys should just form a band together. And so we had a rehearsal in my garage.
And so the two people met, and you had other people there.
Correct.
And the rehearsal, you remember the rehearsal?
I do.
I do, actually.
I do.
It was in his garage.
A lot of cover songs. One original song,
I
maybe.
remember some of the songs that we did. I mean, I don't remember my name now, but I sort of remember
It
them.
didn't really take us anywhere because it was the first and last rehearsal that we did. We didn't reconnect till about 10 years later after he and I had both gone on to do a few things.
Well, you've had great individual successes of your own. What are you guys doing currently? What's 2015 and 16 hold for you guys? Graham, you go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we both have kids, multiple children now, so that's changed a lot. But Matt and I have just been friends and worked together in different capacities over the years. And recently, my kind of latest project is an online concert booking platform called fanswell.com. And it basically takes the existing house concert model, which a lot of artists these days are, to be honest, kind of avoiding traditional clubs and bars and venues, and they're going directly to their fans' living rooms, backyards, basements. But there hasn't really been a way to do that efficiently and kind of in a cool way. So I've played a lot of those events, and I love playing those kind of intimate spaces. And so I thought, man, there needs to be a better way for an artist to kind of say, I'm passing through Oklahoma City on April 15th. Who wants to host me? Who wants to have a party? Mm-hmm. And how does that happen? How do those people get together? Where do the fans come from? So I co-founded the platform with another Oklahoman, John Cooper, and have been really excited about the progress.
And Matt, what are you working on these days that people might be interested in?
Yeah, so I have still doing my own music with Matt Stansberry and the Romance, a 10-piece thing, and so that's been a lot of fun. Getting to travel a little bit, so we're doing stuff throughout the region. So we're hitting St. Louis and Kansas City quite regularly, which has been great, kind of building a fan base there. Mm-hmm. And then I have a design business called Nominee Design Studio, and working with a lot of different music projects. And that's actually where we kind of reconvened. 10 years later, he was one of my first clients when I went out on my own, doing design work for different bands and record labels. And
in our last segment, you may have heard we talked to Lou Berney, who's a local author, and he talked about developing his own fan base and using social media to kind of directly market to your customers, to your fans, to the people that consume your art. Do you guys do that same sort of thing, Graham?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I think both of us, it's fair to say that we started from kind of the old model and now exist in the new model. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I started out of high school, it was so new, and it was my big break was Napster. When songs were being downloaded illegally, I benefited from that more than people were harmed by it.
Because there was a new way to distribute your music that wasn't relying on some New York production house.
Correct.
You were in control of it.
And I didn't even know who had my music. I didn't care if they weren't paying for it. So that was really how it started for me. So now, I feel a little bit like I still have to play catch up with because there's always something new. Even with what I've built, Fanswell, I mean, it's a new thing that I think helps artists. And I think nowadays an artist has to be their own kind of CEO. So I think it's fair to say that we both still kind of manage our own careers.
Yeah, Matt, how do you use social media to kind of interact with your fans?
I just always consider it sort of a distribution channel of sorts. So it isn't where my only voice is, but it's where I sort of distribute to people that are on there. So, and there's different audiences on different platforms. So some of the users that use Facebook, they're not on my Instagram and not on the Twitter or vice versa. So I just try to, I've kind of gotten to where I try to like speak to that audience on that platform a specific way, and it's worked really well for, getting the word out for different shows, especially when we're out of town.
Right.
Because, it's just all of a sudden it's a totally different market.
When you're playing in Kansas City or another market, do you allow people to know through social media, people that have indicated they're a fan of yours, and you might make sure, do you see the same faces come back time after time?
Yeah, you see the same faces, and then they start kind of bringing their friends, and over a few months, it's like it starts to build, and that's the exciting part, I think.
Now, Graham, you've written a lot of music too. Do you consider yourself a writer or a performer or both? How do you weigh that? What do you wake up? Where's Graham Colton's instinct?
I think it's a songwriter first, for sure. I've never really considered myself a singer. It's just kind of, I don't know, I just always would prefer to be a songwriter first and a singer second. And that's with now having kids and a little bit less time on the road, waking up every day and writing a new piece of music is what I'd like to do.
Mm-hmm. Matt, how about you?
That's almost exactly what I would have said. The only addition to that I would say is, and it's probably not as much now, but growing up I was really into guitar. So being a guitar slinger kind of guy is what I used to want to be. And now I'd say I probably write a song idea or a start of idea almost every day. Mm-hmm. If I don't probably finish a song every day, but I at least start on something. So I kind of consider myself a writer too.
Yeah, I think there's so much. It's so different now with all these new channels to not only release music but just content. I think for me it's helped my creativity just to kind of know that I might have just released an album of 12 songs 6 months ago, but if a song pops up, I don't have to wait 2 years. Mm-hmm. I can with a push of a button, it can go out there and it can do something maybe bigger than the formal album that I just released 6 months ago. And that's challenging for me at times too, to kind of like unlearn the old way that it has to be one album every 2 years, 12 songs. And all the rest of the stuff, where does it go? Does it just end up in my iTunes folder? So it's nice to have those kind of channels now and feel like I can wake up and I can write a song, and if I wanted to release it an hour later, I can.
I'll give you guys a chance to talk about Oklahoma City. You both grew up here. You obviously have opportunities to live other places if you'd chosen. Matt, talk about growing up here and then seeing it as an adult and seeing all the changes that have occurred in your lifetime.
Yeah, so when we first I was originally born in Elk City, 2 hours west of Oklahoma City in the metro, and I remember...
That must have been in the boom.
Yes, it was, yeah. So I remember about 5 years old showing up to Edmond and seeing Summit Middle School and Charles Haskell, which I probably were pretty new at the time, in the middle of this huge field with nothing around, and going like, this is cool, but why is this big of a school in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
Because when I came from the middle of nowhere, we had small schools.
Yeah.
So, but definitely everything's built up around that, especially in the Edmond area. So things have just really, really developed. And, on the music side of things, and we were chatting about this earlier, used to be, there's a lot of cover bands, and that's great, a lot of people do, but the original music scene has really started to develop and thrive to the point with, Heard on Heard Music Festival, which we both got to work on. We're working on this season. They're wanting to book original music, and people in Edmond are all original, and so people in Edmond are really receptive. They come out, and that used to not happen as much, and so that's real exciting to see. As part of the music scene here locally, people want it.
Yeah. Graham, you've become an ambassador for Oklahoma City. I've heard you talk about Oklahoma City, but you must interact with people your age who ask you questions about being from Oklahoma City. Right. What's it like to be a songwriter, a performer in Oklahoma City? What do you tell them?
Yeah, for me, it just always comes down to the people. I get asked a lot of why I haven't moved to Nashville or why I haven't moved to LA or why I moved back years ago. And a lot of it is just the people that I choose to surround myself with, which I do think define this community. And, when I was coming up, I didn't really have time to be an Oklahoma City musician. I didn't build a following in Oklahoma beyond my high school friends. I left to go to school in Dallas, and because of Napster, songs got out there and I went on the road. So when it finally came time to come back, thanks to the basketball team and all the great stuff that you're doing, I was just like, whoa, there's all this talent here and a lot of, people that I never even knew existed. And so I've kind of come into this season now of feeling like I get to finally exist and coexist in this local scene. And it's just been really cool because you just uncover all this talent every single day.
Well, no question the music industry is starting to mature here in Oklahoma City, and you guys are at the forefront of that. So thank you for being such pivotal players in all of that.
Sure.
You bet. That's going to do it for this edition of the Mayor's Magazine. I want to thank Graham and Matt for coming on and the rest of our guests. And as for you, I hope you'll join us next month in our May edition. But for right now, I'm Mick Cornett, the Mayor of Oklahoma City, and I'll see you next time on the Mayor's Magazine.